Finally, an affordable mini spot with a variable iris. Meet the 150 watt RGB Mini Spot. Jerry back with that Theatrically Jerry, and today we are going to be reviewing the ZQ07052. First, I would like to point out that they are calling this a LECO, which it is not. And we will find that out later on in the review, but let's go ahead and dive into what this fixture has to offer. So, included with purchase is your main body here. You're not getting a PowerCon power connector, and I will show you why a little later on in this review. You are getting a 3-pin DMX cable for signal, so yes, this can do DMX, and you're also getting a user manual. So definitely keep this because it is going to give you your DMX table values as well as tips on how to keep this fixture clean and safety and operating instructions as well. We're going to go over just what each channel does on this mini spot a little later on in the review. The ZQ07052 measures in at 12.8 inches long by 8.3 inches tall by 6.7 inches wide. So this is a super compact fixture. It's weighing in at about 4.2 pounds, and that's thanks to its mostly aluminum and iron body. Let's take a look at the front of this fixture. So what we have here is a manual focus glass optics. I would have preferred to have seen an electronic one, but that would definitely be spoiling me. Behind this optics is a 100 watt RGB LED cob. Behind the optics and the cob is a metal iris. So between here and the cob back here, we actually have a metal iris, and I am going to show you this later on in the review, but as you can see up here, we do have a lever to manually operate the iris. And what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to control the spot's size as well as the beam angle. You're also getting a durable mounting bracket here, and it's actually one of the thicker ones I've seen on a budget-friendly light fixture, so I was happy to see that. And you also have oversized thumb screws here that allow for you to adjust the tilt on this. And then of course your pan is going to rely on your C-clamp that is attached to this M10 right here. The back of this fixture is super compact because the light itself is super compact, but I like how neatly they've laid everything out. So we have our typical 4-character red LED display, and that is for your DMX menus as well as other settings. Below it are super tiny buttons. I would have liked to seen bigger ones. I hate these little tiny buttons. We have our menu up, down, and enter. They do work. You do get an audible click when you select them. They're just super tiny. Below that is our DMX in and out, and these are our 3-pin. And then something you're not going to normally see on what they're calling a LECO is a built-in power cord. So you're not actually getting a PowerCon, so you can't chain your power. You can only chain your data simply because there's no power out on this. So that was something I would have liked to have seen on this fixture, but they didn't include it, probably for ease of use. But anyways, that's just something I wanted to point out. This is the back of your fixture. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and power this fixture on, and we are going to look at the built-in user interface as well as the menus. So in order to turn this on, there is no on and off switch. It's just going to simply plug into your power supply. So we're going to plug it in, and then as you can see, it's going to start up. So let's go over the built-in menus. Should be rather straightforward and simple. considering that there isn't a whole lot of complexity going on with this fixture. So let's go ahead and take a look. So our first menu here is very typical. This is our DMX address, and you can set it anywhere from 512 to 1. I'm going to leave it at 1. Our next menu is our channel mode. So you can set it to a 7 or a 3 channel mode. I'm going to keep mine at 7 because I prefer a little more control of my fixtures. So that's our channel mode. Our next menu is going to say CL, and what that's going to do is it's going to allow you to choose your colors. They've included some built-in ones. So for instance, CL1 is red, CL2 is green, CL3 is blue, CL4 is white, CL5 is yellow, CL6 is magenta, CL7 is their version of cyan, but it's not. It's more like aqua. And those are going to be your preset colors. Our next menu is going to allow us to individually mix our own colors from the light fixture. For instance, we have red here, and you can set it anywhere from 0 to 255, 255 being at full. Here's our green, our blue. F is going to be for our strobe, and you can set this anywhere from 0 to 99 from here. CC is going to be your color change, so 99 is going to be the fastest for it, and 1's going to be the slowest, and that's just going to cycle through the colors. And we have our DE01, and what that's going to do is it's going to slowly fade in between available colors. If you want it to fade quickly, you can set it to 99. And we're going to look at these later on in the review. I'm just going over the menus. CP is our color pulse, 99 being the fastest. And what that's going to do is just basically pulse each available color. We have our sound active mode. And yes, you can set the sound sensitivity. I absolutely love that they included that because a lot of these budget-friendly fixtures aren't including a sound sensitivity mode. So it was cool seeing that. And that is for our sound mode. The ZQ07052 has a linear dimming system. So let's see just how well this fixture can dim. So what I'm going to do is bring up my red. Now this is red at full. Now let's see how nice it dims. I'm going to bring it back down to 0. We're looking for any visible stepping where you're going to see kind of like a jagged stare look. Budget-friendly fixtures always have an issue at the lower end, which is why a lot of theaters don't use them. So I'm checking out the lower end just to see stepping. We don't have visible stepping at the higher end, which is great. At the lower end, there is just a little bit. As you can see, we're getting a stepping effect when it fades down to 0. So we're definitely getting an 8-bit linear dimming system here. Let's check out our green. Handles great at the higher end. And then at the lower end, we are getting just a little bit of stepping. I'm going to guess it's the same for all of them, considering the dimmer is controlling the LED cob on this. So we're getting the same stepping regardless of what color is being used. So that's good to know. Let's go ahead and check out the strobe. We did just discover that this doesn't have a dedicated white LED. So I am going to mix all three to make a white because I like to test the strobe with a white light. According to the manufacturer, this is capable of a variable strobe between 1 and 13 hertz. 13 hertz is rather low for a refresh rate, so let's just see how well it strobes. So I'm going to go ahead and bring up my red, my green, my blue. Maybe bring the dimmer down a little bit so we're not overexposing it too much, but as you can see, red, green, and blue, they just make an awful white color. So if you're wanting a dedicated white, you're not going to get it with this particular spotlight, but you will be able to get it. They do have another variant, and I will put it in the description down below for a warm white slash cool white. However, you won't be getting RGB with that. So depending on your needs, you can either get a dedicated RGB or a dedicated white. Just letting you get, giving you a heads up on that. So let's go ahead and check out our strobe. That's the slowest it's going to strobe. And as we bring up our channel value for strobe, our strobe's going to get much faster. So this is our strobe at the absolute fastest it's going to go. And I would say that it is closer to 15 hertz, not 13. So it's not bad looking. Let me go ahead and take out my red and my green just to see what it looks like with blue. So you are getting a pretty decent strobe with this, upwards of 15 hertz, possibly a little faster, because you're not seeing the individual black frames in between strobes. So the hertz is actually faster than what the manufacturer is specifying, which is great because a 13 hertz strobe doesn't look very good at all, I'm gonna be honest with you. So I'm glad to see that our strobe has a much faster refresh rate. So something I like to do is to test out the pure colors of the light fixture. Now, pure colors are colors the LED cob is capable of producing without mixing other colors. So in this case, this is a 3-in-1, so we have red, green, and blue. I'm going to go ahead and put this white piece of paper in front so we can see the wavelength of the colors it's capable of producing. So here's our red. It's a really nice red. I can, of course, blow out the highlight, but I'm not going to. We're going to keep this low in terms of output. But the red's great. Here's our green. And if I hold this sheet of paper up closer to the lens, you can actually see the individual LEDs on the cob. So that's kind of interesting. Let's check out our blue. Here's our blue. Got a nice deep dark blue. And our green is decent as well. So the color reproduction's great on this. And you can of course mix these to create other colors. We have what looks like a cyan right here. let's see what it looks like when we mix all of the colors. So I'm going to mix all of these. And then I'm going to bring down our dimmer because it's too bright. You get a really ugly white with this, so I definitely wouldn't rely on this for white. You're going to use this for color mixing. Definitely not white. It doesn't look good. So I can kind of take out some of the red and the green and the blue, and we can get a little bit more decent of a white here, but it still has a green tint to it, and that is because RGB is really not that great at creating a nice pure white. So if you're wanting pure white, definitely don't go with this light fixture. You can try their other variant, which I said before is a cool white and warm white fixture that has a dedicated white cob on it. Something that drew me to this fixture was its onboard ability to adjust its iris. So I want to show you guys exactly what that looks like. And what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to adjust the size of the spot on this. So Lecos have the ability to do this with a drop-in iris, but this one already has one built in, which is why it drew me to it. And it's actually very easy to operate the iris, and we are going to see what that looks like on a flat surface. But for right now, I just wanted to show you guys what it looks like when you're looking through the lens here. And we do have an all-metal design for this iris. So I liked seeing that they didn't skimp on the build construction. But as you can see, it definitely does what it's supposed to, which is to iris the spot. So let's take a look at red too, just real quick, because I want to see what's going on here with red. So we have our red. There is some slight banding. I do like to point that out. But I am also shooting at a super fast frame. I'm doing 60 frames per second. I'm shooting at 1/2000th on my shutter. But I do see some banding on certain shutter speeds. So 1/1000th, there's some banding. It's very light banding. 1/6000th, we're getting banding. We're not getting banding at the higher outputs though. So it's good to see that. And that was with the iris shut all the way down. So it was closed, but just in case you're a photographer or videographer and you're wondering about banding, there is some. This is 1/12,000th of a second. I doubt you would ever shoot at that speed. 1/6000th, 1/8, 1/4. So I would say it's actually decent up to 1/4000th of a second, and then you're going to get some slight banding. Something that I do want to point out, because I do in-depth reviews, is this iris lever is super thin metal. I mean, you can definitely bend this if you wanted to. So it does feel decently durable, if that's even a word, but you can bend this. So if you are transporting this, you're going to want to do that to it and keep it inside the body so you don't bend the arm on it, because this is very flimsy metal here. I wanted to show you guys, you do have a manual focus ring. It's not an electronic one, and it's very easy to focus this fixture, but you do just keep spinning and spinning and spinning the lens here. But you can actually spin this and then it will come right off. So it is very easy to clean your glass optics with this. So I loved seeing that, but as you can see, you can just keep spinning this and spinning this. And then we have our main glass optics here, which is actually very similar to a LECO's optic, and that is covering the main cob or chip on board, so you can easily clean this as well. The ZQ07052 has a built-in active cooling system. I want to let you guys hear how loud this fixture is at full output, just to give you guys an idea of how loud it is, because a lot of people are particular about how loud their fixtures are. Currently right now it's at idle and the fan is on, it's running. I have removed my external mic. We are about a foot away. I'm going to let you guys listen. So it is audible, but it doesn't have a super annoying coil whine to it. It just sounds like a fan that's working. So let's go ahead and bring up all of our LEDs so we can get this fan to ramp up here. Alright, so I have all of the LEDs on. Let's hear how loud the fan gets at full output. I'm going to go ahead and show you guys where the fan is located. It's actually located underneath the fixture here. I also see a aluminum heat sink here as well. So this is actually properly cooled quite well. I love seeing that, especially with how bright this is, because this does have a 100 watt 3-in-1 red, green, and blue on it, so you would expect fairly decent cooling on this. You can actually see the heat sink up here as well, so it is taking in air and moving it across the aluminum heat sink. So not very loud even at full output. Again, we are about a foot away here. And while it is audible, it doesn't have an annoying coil whine to it, or anything that's going to make it a distracting sound. You're just going to get a nice pure fan sound out of this. As stated earlier in the review, this fixture does in fact have sound active mode, and you do have 15 levels of sound sensitivity. So let's go ahead and bring this out to my studio garage, and we are going to test sound active mode with Haze. We're also going to bring the light meter out there and see just how bright this is from about 15 feet away, to give you guys a better idea of the parameters of this fixture. Alright, so we are about 15 feet away from this wall back here in my garage studio, and we are going to test out the lumens as well as the raw or Cree, so the color render index, the quality of the color this is capable of producing, and we're going to also check out the color temperature. So let's go ahead and start with red here. I have it on the largest beam. As you can see, it's also capable of doing a much tighter or narrow beam, but right now I have it on its widest because I want to see how bright this is if you're using it as a traditional spot. So let's go ahead and take a reading here. So we are getting about 114 lux on this. We're not measuring in lumens, we're measuring in lux. And this is for the red. And that's fairly typical because we have such a wide spot here. So the narrower the beam, the brighter the light's going to be. So at its widest, wide open, it's getting about 115 lux. Its CCT is at 2500 because it's on red, so the color temperature would be very warm. Our raw here, or our color render index, is reading at 46. Let's go ahead and check out the green. So here we have our green. We're going to go ahead and check out how bright our green is. It should be brighter than red. It is. So it is reading at about 360 lux. Again, this is at 15 feet. And we are getting a CCT, or color temperature, of 3160. And our raw, or color render index, is very low at 24. Let's see what our blue is capable of producing. So our blue, we are getting about 175 lux. And we are getting a raw that's super low simply because we're using blue. I only really like to use the Cree if I'm measuring white. So let's try to measure white, and it's going to be a perceivable white because, again, this is a RGB fixture. But here is as good as white as it's going to make right here. So let me see if I can focus this, get this a little sharper. Edge is a little bit blurry. We're going to sharpen this up as much as I can get it to sharpen, which was right about here. Alright, so let's go ahead and see just how bright this is with its made up white. And it is going to be a lot brighter because white's always brighter. We are getting about 6,009 lux. We have a CCT, which is pretty accurate, at 8,000K, so this is a cool white. And the Cree or raw is super low. It's not a quality white. It is coming in at 71, which I expected because, again, this is not a solid white LED cob. We're mixing red, green, and blue together. Let's go ahead and see just how bright this is at its narrowest beam. As I stated earlier in the review, you cannot get this spot here at its narrowest beam. You can't get it to sharpen at all. I've tried. That is one of the downfalls of this fixture, is its narrowest beam. It looks great in the air, but hitting a surface, you're not going to get a very sharp beam as I would prefer. So this is about as sharp as you're going to get. So let's see how bright this is. Should theoretically be brighter. So we are getting a lux at 4,000, and the color temperature is staying the same. So this is 4,000 lux at 15 feet. Let's just go ahead and see how bright. We'll use red. We're not going to measure all the colors, but we'll see how bright red is. So red, we're getting 75 lux. And this is for its narrowest beam. Let's test some of their weird colors that they've mixed. Let's test this blue here. This is more of an aqua blue. Getting 380 lux. This is at 15 feet with our tightest beam angle, so it's not too bad. So I have these running in master slave mode. Let's see how bright these are when you point two of them, one on top of the other here. Because I do know a lot of theaters that use this kind of spot system where they're actually using two spots to illuminate their one actor. So these are two spots focused at the same point, and we are getting 753 lux at 15 feet. So the brightness does jump up if you're using two of these pointed at the same subject. And if we open these to our widest beam angle, you are also going to get a much brighter wide angle here. So we're getting almost almost 1,000 lux, depending on where you place this. So 1,000 lux if you use two of these. I also kind of wanted to show you guys that you can get really cool layered effects with these lights. So I have one that's a dark green, and then I have my other one, which is yellow, and you can switch these up and just get some like really cool colors going. So we could do color change here, and we could do color change here, and now we're getting really cool colors here. So you can achieve a lot of different looks with these. Just by varying your aperture as well, or your iris. I'm of course manually doing this, but that looks cool too. I'm gonna go ahead and put a link in the description down below. If you have any questions or comments about this fixture, go ahead and leave them. I respond to all questions and comments as quickly as I can. If you haven't already, go ahead and subscribe to my channel at Theatrically Jerry. I do a lot of reviews on budget-friendly lighting fixtures. I do tutorials. I do reviews on atmospherics, effects equipment, DJ equipment, DMX consoles, controllers, anything that interests me, I review on my channel at Theatrically Jerry. And thank you guys for watching.